welcome to the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. This is episode 29, I think, if I've worked it out correctly, and today's Tuesday, the 1st of May, and yeah, sorry I've been away a while. It's been well over a month since our last podcast, and I will explain that in a minute. Timestamps for everything that I talk about are down below underneath this video, so you can skip to any section you want or miss out any of the bits you're not interested in. What else? Oh, and I am on Instagram and Ravelry, a Starry Eyes Alley, and I always forget to say I do have a Ravelry group. I'm not very good at Ravelry in terms of keeping up with the group and things, but there is stuff in there and it is worth a visit, especially seeing as I'm about to talk about a make-along, which I'll talk about later. So yeah, the Ravelry group is the Little Drops of Wonderful group, and I will put that link below. Rambling start. Yes, I very tired. I have about half an inch of concealer on, and I don't think it's really working. I'm drinking tea. Normally, when I podcast, if you've watched this podcast before, you'll know normally I have a Diet Coke on the go. Welcome back, everyone, by the way, and welcome to all new subscribers. I've seen quite a few new subscriber notifications in my inbox. So if you're new, hello, and if you found me via another podcast, or if someo's mentioned me, do let me know who mentioned me, so I can go and check them out if I don't know them already. It'd be really interesting to find out any more podcasts that are out there. Yes, so I'm on the tea, partly because I need to stay awake, and also partly because I wanted to show you my new mug. We went to Cornwall at the end of March, beginning of April, and we went to Padstow, and in Padstow, Rick Stein has got a restaurant, and this mug was in the shop that's attached to that restaurant. So I had to have it. I love lobsters, if you haven't watched before. I have quite a selection of lobster mugs now, and in it I'm drinking this really delicious tea. I'm normally just a Yorkshire tea girl, but my husband and my girls bought me a couple of packets of tea from this shop, T2, which is a shop local to us at our shopping centre called Blue Water. So they got me a box of Morning Sunshine and a box of English breakfast, and this one is Assam, Darjeeling and Rwandan estate black tea. It's really, really nice. I didn't think I would ever be swayed from my Yorkshire tea, but this is delicious, so I'm very much enjoying it. It's a bit hot actually. A bit too hot to tuck into just yet. As always, the timestamps for everything I'm going to talk about will be down below underneath this video, so you can skip to any section you want or miss out any section you're not interested in. I'm going to give you a little life update to begin with, just so you know where I have been. So if you're not interested in that and you want to just get to the nitty gritty, pretend I didn't say that. Just skip now to the time that is coming up on the screen. So, first of all, sorry, I think the last time I podcast was 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I think I said then that we were off to Cornwall. We have birthdays coming up and so on. The main reason that I haven't been podcasting is, as many of you already know, my father was taken ill in January, and the last 4 months have been a bit of a whirlwind. He was diagnosed with brain cancer, then lung cancer as well. He is currently in hospice care at the hospital, and palliative care, which I'm sure you all know means that they will keep you comfortable, but they won't treat you. So that's where we are at the moment. It has been the worst year of my entire life. That's about all I will say on the matter. It has been horrendous, and for me and my sister, who hello Jenny, my sister is Stitch Crochet currently on Instagram. I say currently because I think she wants to change it because she's become a knitter. So she's Stitch Crochet on Instagram. So if you want to go and follow her and see what she does and say hello to her, please feel free to go and bug her. It is my duty as her older sister to make sure that she is continually annoyed. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, yeah, for me and my sister, this has been a hell of a year. And we got the call on the 7th of January when my dad first got taken poorly. And what's it now, the 1st of May. So yeah, that's a long time to be worrying and not sleeping. And we both live 90 miles from where my dad is. So my sister lives in Birmingham, I live in Kent, and my dad lives in Berkshire. So every time we go to see him, it's at least well, for me, because I've got to go around London, it's at least a 2 to 2.5 hour drive each way. So in one day it'll be like a 5-hour round trip, and Jenny's isn't much less than that, it's about the same. So it's tiring and it takes its toll, very expensive petrol wise, and it's very emotional. We spend a lot of time on our own, sitting with our dad or sitting in cars, and yeah. So that is one of the main reasons why I haven't podcast, because I haven't been here. I've just either been at work or at the hospital. And yeah, I just wanted to say a very heartfelt thank you to everybody who has left a comment on my videos or on Instagram, or has messaged me, or sent texts, or any form of contact or reaching out has been wholeheartedly appreciated in more than I can possibly put into words. So I won't try, because I'm rubbish at these things. Yeah, thank you. It's meant a lot. Actually, I've drawn a lot of strength from the messages that I've got from the online crafting community. It's amazing, actually, the difference that it can make. So thank you very much. The second thing that has happened is we went to Cornwall. We went to Cornwall for a week. My dad and my stepmom were due to come with us, but my dad went back into hospital the week before. So he didn't come with us, but they wanted us still to go because it was a celebration for my mum's 70th birthday. So we went to Cornwall for a week, and I will try and put a little vlog at the end of this video of footage from Cornwall. It was a lovely week, and we really did make the most of it, and managed to give my mum a really lovely 70th birthday break. But it was hard at the same time. What's the other thing? Oh, I bought a new car. I didn't buy a new car. So this is it. This is also connected to my dad. At Christmas, he would normally give me a bit of money. And this year he said, instead of money, why don't I hold that off and you find yourself a new car? Because I had my car was 25 years old, or 25 years old. And it was on its last legs. And it was beginning to get very difficult to get the kids around in it. So he had said for ages that he would contribute, or fully, to buying me a new car. So I did. I went and found a little Toyota Igo. It's blue. I've already got a bunch of yarn picked out to make a blanket to match it. Because here's a story. So again, if you don't want to hear this, just jump to the time that I'll put on the screen again now. So I bought my new car. It's only 10 years old and it's beautiful. I'll see if I can put a picture up of it if I can. And the first time I got it, I drove it up to the hospital because my dad was still relatively mobile at this stage. We could put him in a wheelchair, and I thought, well, I'll take him downstairs to the car park and he can look at this car because he's really interested in all that. But when I got there, he wasn't very well that day, and actually we couldn't get him into a wheelchair, so he never did get to see it. And then on the way home at junction 10 of the M25, it broke down. I'd only had it like 2 weeks. It turned out that the clutch had seized up, which is just one of those things really. It needed a new clutch. Nothing could have really, it wasn't covered by the warranty. It was just wear and tear. Whoever had it before had obviously not driven it particularly well. And I ended up stuck on the side of the M25 on the hard shoulder for 2.5 hours. I was on my own, it was dark, it was raining, and the hard shoulder of the M25 is not a fun place to be, trust me. You've got lorries whizzing past. Oh, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I didn't have a coat, so I was freezing because you have to get out of your car and stand on the other side of the crash barrier to wait. So the RAC, name and shame, were absolutely appalling. I've had RAC membership for years, and because I was a woman on my own, because of where I was in a dangerous position, they said they'd be with me within 45 minutes, and I never heard from them again. In the end, after 2 hours, I called them. I held for 20 minutes, and they still said that it was going to be another hour, at which point I did start shouting. I'm not proud of myself. But they said they'd call me back, and yeah, never heard from them. But the contracted truck driver, not delivery, the rescue truck driver turned up, and it was really quite dark by this point, and I'd been standing shivering with no coat. I had one little crochet granny square blanket, just like a lap blanket, which I'd wrapped around my shoulders, and I had a knitted scarf on, but I didn't have a coat. And there's nothing, a wind cuts through knitted and crochet things like you wouldn't believe. I was frozen. And then this truck pulls up, and this man starts walking down the hard shoulder towards me, and he's holding this sort of flapping white fleece blanket. And I'm sort of looking at him through the rain, and he's going, I'm Gabriel, with this flapping. I was thinking, what's happened? Have I died? What's happening? There's an angel coming towards me. It turned out that my rescue guy was called Gabriel, and he had bought at Christmas, I was chatting to him afterwards, for £1 in his local B&M store, 2 fleece blankets, one red, one white. And when he pulled up to see me standing there shivering, he grabbed one of these fleece blankets for me, and it was all oily, and I was saying to him, I've never been so grateful for an oily, smelly fleece blanket. And it was at that point that I thought, I am going to crochet myself a wrap to have in my car, and it will be beautiful and it will match my car, and I'm going to line it with fleece. So if I ever get in that situation again, I can wrap that around me, and the fleece will keep me cozy and warm, and the crochet will keep me comforted. Yeah. So anyway, then he got my car all hitched up to the truck and drove me home, and we had to drive home about an hour. So we were talked all the way home. He was such an interesting guy. He told me all kinds of stories about what happens. He told me a story about if you break down on the M25, I don't know if this is true of other motorways, and you have to, or you have an accident, and you have to shut, and the police have to shut a lane, it costs £70 per hour per lane that needs to be shut, and you get charged that, and you have to reclaim it on your insurance. No idea. And he had all kinds of those kind of stories. So now whenever I drive down the M25, I'm like, oh, I know all these interesting facts about what happens should you break down, or if they need to close it. Or, what am I going? This ignore me. Right. Moving on. It was then my birthday on the 19th of April. And I had a lovely time. Obviously, it was everything we do at the moment, I feel bad about doing. I feel bad about podcasting. I feel bad that I'm not at the hospital today, but I've been there the last 3 days and I'm exhausted. And I really need to wash the kids' clothes and prepare some meals for the week and just catch up on housework. And I thought if I could just quickly, in an hour, squeeze in a podcast, I'll feel better, because then I'm getting overwhelmed by the stuff I know that I want to share with you. What was my point? Oh yes, it was my birthday, and my husband took me to Ramsgate for the day, which is a coastal town with a harbour here in Kent. I've never been to Ramsgate before, strangely, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm going to see if I can put some footage in of that trip as well at the end, so hopefully you'll get a bit of Cornwall and a bit of Ramsgate. The weather was glorious. We had this week in England where it was up in the high 70s, early 80s. It was absolutely boiling, and I'm not really one for hot weather, but I really appreciated it that day, let me tell you. So that was lovely, and I received lots of lovely birthday wishes, thank you. And I also received some totally unexpected generous gifts in the post, some of them birthday and some of them just because. So I'm going to share some of those with you later, but not all of them, because I'm going to save some for next time. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's it for the general rambling life update and talking randomly about car rescue people called Gabriel. For the rest of the podcast, we're going to talk about finished objects, works in progress, incoming stuff, the make along, which I mentioned, some giveaways, which might be sprinkled throughout the podcast, and I think 3 giveaways. There's 3 giveaways of all patterns, and I'm going to talk about those throughout this podcast. And I'm also going to put the vlog at the end, and I started an Ask Me Stuff thread on the Ravelry group, so I've got some questions to answer for that, so if I have time I'll do that too. I printed them out. So let's get started on finished objects. Now I've only got 1 finished object, it's a pair of socks, so does that count as 2? No, of course it doesn't. But I've also got one of my works in progress. I've just started to do the I-cord bind off for. So it's kind of almost there, but I can't really show it to you because it's as a finished object, because it's all bunched up on the needles. But I will show it to you as a whip. So my one and only finished object was the test knit socks that I was working on a couple of episodes ago, which I couldn't show you the pattern because it wasn't ready to be released. But now it is, I can show you, and it's going to be really hard because for some reason I bought this yarn a couple of years ago at Unravel 2017, and it's hand dyed by Kate, and it's the most luminous pink you can possibly imagine. And I chose this because when the pattern, which I'll show you in a minute, is called Along Similar Lines. Is that right? Along Similar Lines, and it's a pattern by Yola of Little French Meadow. It's the first sock pattern that she's designed, and she asked if I would test knit it for her, and of course I said yes. And I wanted to do it in a plain yarn to show off the pattern, but then I realised that was going to be really hard to photograph. So sorry Yola for not being able to show the pattern very easily in photographs, because I used this ridiculously neon yarn. But I think it does show how nicely the pattern works up on a plain tonal yarn, and I think the other tester did it on a sort of variegated yarn, and it looks fantastic as well. So it's a really nice versatile pattern, and the idea is, I'm going to do this from memory because I don't have a copy in front of me. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. I hope it's not just blowing out. But the she designed them with her husband in mind, so you're always travelling. Do I have the pattern? Hang on, if I have it, I'll read it out. If not, I'll just do it from memory and probably get it wrong. No, I don't. The idea is that when you've been together for a long time, and when you're married, and when you love someone, you generally always travelling in the same direction, but not always at exactly the same pace or at the same time, but always in the same direction until you are working together. Eventually side by side. I don't think that's the right description, is it, Yola? It's a lovely description. It's really romantic, and it was a lovely pattern to work. And this is the other one, just to prove that I've got yeah, this one I actually did correctly, and this one I made a slight mistake on, but not anything that you would notice. And they look fantastic on as well. I really like them. I love the yarn, loved the pattern. Really well written, really easy to follow. The rib at the top is, I think, a 1x1 twisted rib, which I've not been able to get the hang of before, but this time using Yola's pattern I really did, so I was really pleased with that. And they fit brilliantly. I just followed her because she does the pattern for different sizes, and I did these 56 stitches using 2.25mm needles, and I actually knit them on short circulars, and I did them concurrently. So I've actually got my sock notebook with me. Yeah, 56 stitches, top down, twisted rib, and yeah, 2.25mm short circulars. Really nice pattern, and Yola, bless her, has given me a copy of that pattern to give away to you guys. So I'm going to open a thread in the Ravelry group as soon as I've finished filming today, and I'm going to put a prompt in there, and if you could just go into that group, into that thread, which I'll also link below, answer the prompt, and I will draw a winner for that in the next episode. Go to the thread in my Ravelry group, Little Drops of Wonderful, and be in with a chance to win a copy of your own Along Similar Lines socks. Please excuse my fingernails. I have painted them because it stops me biting them. I'm a chronic nail biter. However, I need to keep doing it, otherwise I start biting them again. I just can't seem to get out of the habit. So they've grown really well, but they need repainting. And if I was going to sit down and repaint my nails, I wouldn't have podcast today. So you're just going to have to put up with them being a bit chipped. So thank you, Yola, for letting me test knit those, and thank you very much for donating the pattern to give away. So that is it for finished objects. So I'm going to move on to works in progress, and I'm going to start with the work in progress that is almost finished. So this was a project that I started on New Year's Day. This was my New Year's Day cast on. It is living in my Caroline Loves to Sew bag, which was a present on my last wedding anniversary from my husband. Caroline Loves to Sew, and I've kept her little tag on it because it's just so pretty. So that's her thing, and that is all her details. To Caroline Love to Sew on Instagram, and I think she's Love to Sew UK on Etsy. Yeah, Love to Sew UK on Etsy. Oh, this bag is just glorious. Even when it's just sitting on the sofa, it looks like some gloriously expensive cushion from John Lewis or something like that. So I think it's, is it Tilda Fabrics, Caroline? I think so. And then this bit is like a velvet, like a, it's beautiful, as you can see, and then the little button. So, and in here is the project I cast on New Year's Day. Now I bought, just before Christmas, we went down to Faversham for the Christmas market, and in Faversham there is a yarn shop called, oh look, sorry, also to match, Caroline sent me a later date, a little gift. She sent me one of her little lavender pillows. You can buy these in her Etsy shop as well, but this was a gift, and she sent it to me because she knew it would match my bag, and I've just kept it in there, and it makes my knitting smell divine. Yeah, so we went to the yarn shop in Faversham, which is called the Yarn Dispensary. It's in a, like, I don't know, hundreds of year old building, which used to be apothecary. You know the word I mean. Woo! Did you see that? Apothecary. You know, like an old style pharmacist. Why can't I say that word? Anyway, it's called the Yarn Dispensary, and I thought, well, I've got to buy some yarn. So I bought myself a colour wheel, hand-dyed colour wheel from the Knitting Goddess. There is the thing. And this has got just about every type of fibre you can think of in it. Can you see that? Blue Face Leicester, British Alpaca, British Wensleydale, and nylon. Wools and alpaca fibres sourced from UK flocks and processed in the UK, custom spun in Devon. I think it might be spun at the John Arben mill. I might be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's what the lady in the shop said. And the colour wheel that I got is called Stones, and it consists of 12 10-gram minis, and I wanted to use all 12 for this project. So the project that I am making is the Ragdoll's Favourite Shawl by Hanna of Hanna from Sheep's Alley, and it was a gift from lovely Lorraine, who is made in England on Ravelry, and I think she might be the real Made in England on Instagram. And she sent this to me back in, oh my goodness, October. So I cast it on New Year's Day, and then 7 days later I got the call about my dad, and I put it down, and I didn't come back to it, and I've done about that much. So it looks like this. And it's designed to use up leftovers and minis, and it's very, very versatile, flexible pattern, and it's a shawlette. Hannah calls it a shawlette. So because I had 12 10-gram minis, it was going to be perfect. And I actually, when I bought that set of minis, I did have this pattern in mind. And I picked it up about a week ago, week and a half ago, and I just started knitting on it and I couldn't put it down. And now I just last night started the I-cord bind off, which I've never done before, and I've only done that much, but I love it so far. I hear people saying it's a bit slow going, an I-cord bind off, but I find it a bit fascinating. But I'm the type of person that likes weaving in ends. So I think this could be up my street. So I'm looking forward to sitting down a bit later and finishing this off. Now, I laid out my 12 colours in the order, and I flitted about with them, and I tried to work out the order I would want them in. And then once I started knitting them, I sort of started thinking, oh, maybe I should have interspersed the greys with the browns rather than going from grey to brown. See what you think. So, oh, actually, I do really like it. My husband thinks it's brilliant, and he never has an opinion really on these things. So I started with the grey, and every time you do a colour change, you do a kind of raised garter line, and you get this texture as you go. So I've made sure, now I used all I could, because Hanna gives you instructions on how to try and estimate if you've got enough yarn left for each row. So I used everything I could from each colour, and then when I got towards the end I started to think, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have enough left to do the border. So what I've done is, for the first half of the lace section, I used my 10th colour. The second half of the lace section, I've used my 11th colour, and my 12th colour is going to be for the I-cord bind off. And I think that was the safest way to do it, so that I didn't run out of any one yarn halfway through. But every other colour I've put in, I've just done until I've run out. I don't know if any of that's making sense, but the point is I'm going to have all 12 colours in this shawl, and I'll probably have about 30 grams left over if you add together all the bits and bobs left. So I'll have to think of something interesting to do with those leftovers. But the colours are just amazing, and the yarn is lovely. It's very rusticy. It's not soft, 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 soft. But I think, as with all these types of yarns, they soften up a lot once you give them a little wash and a block. I love it, and I cannot recommend this pattern enough. It's so easy and relaxing, and actually you are knitting backwards and forwards, and it's not a garter stitch shawl, so you're knitting and you're purling. And I knit continental, so I again, excuse my nails, but I hold the yarn in my left hand and I go through and I grab. I don't throw it with my right hand. So when I purl, I bring the yarn to the front, I still hold the yarn in my left hand, and then I do a push down movement, and I do that. And I always struggled with that massively. I tried the Norwegian purl, which I found very useful for a while, but it's a lot slower. But doing this and going back in purl for, you know, 300 odd stitches, I've nailed it. And now purling, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, purling makes no odds to me. And I can purl in almost as quickly as I can knit now, which is brilliant. So I owe this shawl a lot in terms of my progress with my knitting. Absolutely love it. And we've got this little lace section at the end, which is gorgeous. It was just a joy to do. And Hannah's pattern was beautifully written. There wasn't a single thing that wasn't clear. It gives you extra tips on how to do a Russian join, which I did. All my colours I joined using a Russian join, and I found that was brilliant. Like I say, I don't mind weaving in ends, but in this case you kind of weave in your ends for the Russian join, and that's when you're kind of doing it as you go, and then you get this lovely kind of unbreakable join. And I really, really like that. I've never done that before. So this really has been a shawl of firsts and a shawl of education. So it's absolutely fantastic, and I would really, really recommend it. Ragdoll's favourite. I'm actually going to enter this, I think. I haven't checked the rules, but I was watching the Yarn Hoarder podcast, and she's doing a shawl cow, and an unsung heroes cowl. So it doesn't have to be knitting, it could be crochet, or I think she said any type of craft really, but she was saying you can enter into it anything you make from a design on Ravelry that has 30 or less projects, because she was saying that these designers put a lot of time and effort into writing the patterns and taking the photos and getting them test knit. Sometimes they might pay a tech editor. And then I think she was saying she had gone to knit a shawl that she'd seen as knit up as a sample, and there was 3 projects, and she was number 4. And she said it was a way to sort of get the to get these patterns that haven't gone viral and all over the place, to get the patterns with less projects up, to the fore. So yeah, so I might enter it into that, because Hannah's that's my first pattern that I've made of Hannah's, although I am like her #1 fan. So I'm gonna definitely be making one of her others as well. Maybe your frozen lashes, Hannah. I've got your I'm gonna say this wrong, Bumbalai mittens. Is that the right way to say it? Please correct me. That she gifted me as part of a swap, so I'll definitely be making those. But I also want to make more of her patterns. So yes, I'm just rambling now, so I'm going to put it back in the bag and put it to one side. I've got an eye on the time, and I can see that already I am rambling. So come on, let's speed it up, speed it up, speed it up. Cornwall socks. So I started some socks for going to Cornwall, but then I stopped them because I would have done a load of knitting on them on the way home. But things took a bit of a turn for the worse on our last day in Cornwall with my dad. It was a horrendous journey home. That day that we came back, that weekend, and the weeks after that have been horrendous. Horrendous. Anyway, I stopped knitting on them because I did not want to knit a single stitch of sadness into these socks. So they are going to live in here until we next go back to Cornwall, and then they will be resumed. And for these, I was making up my own pattern. I know, but I hadn't meant to do that. I just decided to. They're living in my lobster bag, which I got for my 40th birthday last year from my mother-in-law. This is a bag by Thornback and Peel. They're a British screen printing company, I believe. And the yarn was a gift for my lovely friend Sarah, Sarah1Daisy on Instagram, who I met on the way down to Cornwall. We stopped off where she works. We used the toilets. And she gave us all an Easter egg. So so when I say she's my friend, she's now my best friend, because she gave us chocolate, which makes me sound like a stalker. You will be my best friend if you give me chocolate. So we met Sarah, but she had previously gifted me this beautiful yarn from Down Sheepy Lane. It's called, oh, that's where that is. I was looking for it. Sorry, I'll come back to that in a minute. She bought me this gorgeous yarn from Down Sheepy Lane, and it just arrived, and it was a complete surprise. It's called Sun, Sea and Shale. It's a self-striping yarn, and I just thought, well, that is Cornwall in a yarn, isn't it? So I started knitting them, and then I started making up they're 2 at a time on 2mm. I'm doing magic loop, and can you see the little pattern I'm doing? I'm just doing a little eyelet pattern every second stripe, and I've written it all down so I can remember how I was doing it, and I balled up the yarn in such a way that actually they're going to be matching, but can you see that it goes dark blue, light blue, grey, dark blue, light blue, and this one is going light blue, dark blue, grey. So I've wound one of the balls the wrong way. And at first I thought, oh, stop, and I'll rewind it. And then I thought, actually, no, I like it, because it reminds me of the tide going in and out and different. So really, really loving those, but I cannot knit sadness into them. So they're going back into this bag. I've even got all the little, I've eaten the sweets, but I've got like the little notes and notions and things in there. And they're just going to stay there until we are back having a happy time in Cornwall again. And that's when these will be resurrected. And what I just found in that bag was this. I talked about it last time. It's a miniature sock blocker from Alex Workshop Design. I got big sock blockers, and they are absolutely gorgeous. And I also bought one of these, which is a little keyring. And I mentioned that I wanted to make teeny tiny socks to put on my teeny tiny sock blocker. And Erin, who is happy sitting knitting on Instagram, hi Erin, she messaged me and said there is a pattern for this sock blocker, and they're called the Pet Sock Project. I can't say anything, these are all really difficult things to say. Pet Sock Project on Ravelry, and sure enough, there it is. Someone has made a pattern for this little tiny Alex Workshop design sock blocker, so you can make little tiny little socks. So thank you, Erin, for getting in touch with me about that. I'm going to be all over that, making little socks. And I put that in that bag thinking I would use the leftovers, but I think I'll have to keep it out now because it might be a while before I come back to those. Right, next work in progress. I started a shawl. I've taken a couple of times a week to going to bed at the same time as my eldest daughter. So she's 12 and she goes to bed about 9. But sometimes my youngest daughter goes to bed by 8. So if I put her to bed, and my husband's going to sort out the eldest, I'll go to bed at 8 a couple of evenings a week. I'll just take the iPad with me and my knitting and some crochet and a hot milk, and I watch the podcast and I just sit in bed and knit. And when I'm too tired to knit, I read. And it's the best. Like those 2 nights of the week that I'm doing that. Brilliant. Love it. I get so much crafting done as well. And one night I was just really tired. I'd left my knitting downstairs, but I had my hook roll nearby for some reason, and I had some yarn that Shelley, who is Kiki Lucy, I'll put it on the screen. Well, Shelley and I did a swap. She lives in Canada, and part of that swap she sent me this yarn, which is Crafter's Square knitting yarn. It's 20% wool, 20% nylon and 60% acrylic, and she sent me 4 balls of it. It's like a rainbow colour, a variegated rainbow, and I wasn't sure what I was going to make with it, and then I just broke into one and started hooking up a it's called the One Row Shawl. Also difficult to say. The One Row Shawl by PurpleIguana. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and you basically, after the first three rows, you just do the same thing over and over again. And I was like, that is my type of crochet at the moment, just repeating the same thing. And I thought this yarn is the thing to use just for, you know, that last bit of crochet when you're in bed and you're tired and you can't think, you just want to keep one eye on a podcast. So I started it, and this is going to be for my daughter, my youngest daughter, who loves just wrapping herself up in whatever shawl she can find. And I can just see her throughout the summer months sitting on the trampoline with a book wrapped up in this shawl. Obviously I need to block it. Yeah, so you just keep going like this, and eventually you get I'm going to show you a picture on my iPad if I can. I don't know how well it'll come out, but this is the designer's one on the blocking mat. Yeah, really pleased with how it's coming. And this is an example of a yarn that works really well with crochet. The variegation is very, very even. There's no colour pooling or anything. It's just a very even spacing of colour. And it reminds me of the colours of the old 1980s Rainbow Bright dolls as well. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm just using a plain, boring 5mm hook. And the yarn, I think, is a 4-ply. Or is it not? No, actually it might be. Yeah, 4-ply or sport weight. So I'm loving it, and it's living in my bag, which was a gift from Michelle, who is Pictures in Threads on Instagram. She does the most amazing things with lampshades, and she's been making bags, and she said, oh, would you try one for me and just see what you think? So I was like, yeah. And I showed this, I think, last time. It's got bees on it and scissors, and the inside's got like a pins decoration, and it's just like a little drawstring bag. So it's been perfect for that little project. I just keep that on my bedside table and pull that out whilst I'm watching podcasts and drinking my hot milk. Now, somebody asked, so I'm going to talk about this one. I haven't got all the bits with me, but this gentleman here is going to be a fox, and I haven't bought the pattern. I can't show you anything like this. I can tell you that this is going to be the fox from the book called Animal Heads, Trophy Heads to Crochet by Vanessa Moonsie. And I've talked about this quite extensively in previous episodes. and I had been struggling to do the chest fur. I have now done that. It's blocked and it's ready to be sewn on. I've also done his ears, which are also ready to be sewn on, and the next thing I need to do is his eyeballs. Now, he has been sitting around for some time. This project has taken way longer than it should have done. It's just one of those things where I sometimes feel the love for it and sometimes I don't. But I am getting to the stage now where like, I've got to get this finished. But my brain at the moment is not really into it. So, but poor little eyeless fox. What do you call a fox with no ears? Anything you like, he can't hear you. So yeah, so Mr. Fox is still there and I'm still working away on him in the background, but he is a little bit neglected at the moment. And my last work in progress, and can you notice I'm speeding up now, is living in my little bag that my friend Erica, my real life friend Erica was actually not always a real life friend. We met in the 90s through a site called Diaryland. It was like Blogger before Blogger. Anyway, she became a real life friend and we've known each other now, since our 20s, so a long time. And when I was in hospital having my operation in 2012, random fact, in case you don't know, if you haven't watched before, watch episode 10. I talk about it in detail there. In 2012, I had an operation and I had my entire large intestine removed. You don't really need to know that. I had ulcerative colitis. I had it since I was 19 years old and it got to the point where it was going to kill me. So to avoid that, you know, because I figured that might be best, I had an operation, I had it removed. I had a colostomy bag for a month and then they replumbed me and everything is now back on the inside and my small intestine kind of does the job that my large intestine used to do. Yeah, so sorry if that's a bit more information than you were expecting for works in progress, but the point is, when I was in hospital having a miserable time, my friend Erica sent me this little wash bag, or just a little pouch really, but she filled it with things that would be good for the hospital, like wipes and like I think lip, not gloss, you know, lip moisturiser and other little things to keep me going in hospital. And I've kept it ever since. It's been washed. And now it is my project bag of choice for socks on the go. If I've got a pair of socks which I just want to put in my handbag, this is the bag that I tend to use. I've got in here a ball of Cheer Up Buttercup by Little French Meadow. And this was a present from my sister, Jenny, who we mentioned earlier, which she sent to me just because at the beginning of the year when Dad was ill, I got ill as well. I couldn't visit him. I got a chest infection, I got bronchitis, I got better, I got ill again, and things, I mean, you couldn't have got things going more wrong. And she sent me yarn, because obviously yarn makes everything better, as we all know. And I decided that I was going to try and get 2 pairs of socks out of this ball of yarn so we could have matching. And I thought the way to go about that was to make some Rose City rollers, which are shorty socks. This is a pattern by, is it by Tin Can Knits? Pretty sure it is, but I'll put it on the screen. And I made her a first sock to try on and she sent me her feedback on the fit. So now I'm making a second sock, which I have adjusted. So the first sock I made 56 stitches on 2.25mm needles. And the foot fit well, but not across, you know, the bit where you kind of get from the heel to the top of your foot, that was really stretching. So now I cast on 60 stitches and I'm going to go down to 56 stitches for the foot and hope that that works. Although in hindsight, I should have just made the heel flap longer. Anyway, I'm having fun kind of just working it out. Because they're shorty socks, it doesn't take too long to do. So I turned the heel yesterday. Me and my sister were both sitting by my dad's bedside, both knitting socks, because Jen is now into her socks as well. And I managed to start the gusset decreases. Hello. Welcome to the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. I promise you I'm drinking tea. There was no vodka in there. I can't remember what I was saying now. Yes, gusset decreases. I started on the car yesterday and now I'm going to just start on the foot. And I'll probably get halfway down the foot and then get her to try it on. and see what she thinks of that fit. So that is my on-the-go socks. By the way, the reason I could knit on these in the car yesterday is because my husband took the day off work and he drove me, because I just thought if I was just going to fall asleep at the wheel, I think. So he just said, look, I'll take a bit of time off and I'll come and drive you just this once. So, okay, moving on and racing ahead to incoming. Now, I've spent a massively spoiled brat. I got lovely things for my birthday and other things as well, and stuff that I've bought for myself. So I'm going to try and show you as much as I can. I don't know when I can podcast next because of everything that's happening. So I have held some of the stuff I got back. So if you've sent me something and I'm not going to show it now, it's because I've got it in my podcasting basket just down there, and I'm going to be showing it next time. Because I want to spread it out, because I love talking about it. So I'm going to talk about loads now, but save some for next time. The first thing I wanted to share with you was something that actually my daughters bought, not for me, but for themselves, when we were in Cornwall. Now, I've got the details somewhere of, oh, here we go, of the person that does this. She's on Instagram. This is the tag I'm going to show you first, and she's on Instagram as flower_fairies, spelt with an F-A-E, _Bella. And this is the website. So, Flower Fairies Bella, handmade in Cornwall. We were in Padstow and there was a craft fair just in a little like church hall. And we went for a little mooch around, and amongst all the trinkets and the plastic and the, you know, the usual kind of paraphernalia from a touristy type place, there was this twig tree that was just strewn with fairies made from fibre. And my girls were just mesmerised, and they both spent £20 of their pocket money buying these. And I did sort of think, oh, I'm not sure whether to let them because they're so delicate, but they were just enthralled by them. So I thought, well, they're beautiful. This is the first one. The light is glaring, so I can't see if you can see this. So they're made from fibre. This one's a sort of sparkly fibre, and they've got wings as well. Even the hair is made from the fibre. This one's got the flowers in, little belt, little flower there. Can't remember which one that is. I think that one is my Phoebe's one, my 7-year-old. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little hook up somewhere out of reach in Phoebe's room so that it can be displayed without being destroyed. And then Lilia, I think it was Lilia, chose this one. You see she's got a tiny little sparkly heart and then little arms. And this one's got wings as well, but she's got little feathers, and in the feathers there are little sparkles. Really hope you can see them. So absolutely beautiful, and what a lovely idea. I've never seen anything like that made from wool fibre. I was worried because if you pulled it, I mean, you could just spin it. So I did sort of reiterate, you know, make sure the girls were aware of how delicate they would be. You can't, they're definitely not toys to be played with. They are definitely a decoration, but they will be treasured, and they are going to go in pride of place in their bedrooms. And I've been saving them to show on the podcast, and now I think I'll try and get a picture of them to show on Instagram as well. So yeah, those were from Cornwall, from, like I say, Flower Fairies Bella. Flower Fairies Bella she is on Instagram, and I'm just looking at her Instagram here, and she's just got so many beautiful, oh, I don't know if you can see that, beautiful different fairies. I think it might be mother and daughter, I can't remember, or friends or sisters, or yeah, really worth a look, and really unusual. Like I say, I've never seen anything like that, and I really wanted to share that with you because I know you'll all appreciate it too. The other thing I got, oh goodness me, where to start? Right, Nikki, who is the Whip Queen on Instagram, I'll put it on the screen as usual. She has started dyeing yarn, and her yarn dyeing company is called Little Stone. Oh, hang on, let me get this right. Little Stone Cottage Yarns. So she is Little Stone Cottage UK on Etsy, and she's the whipped cream on Instagram. But she sent me some yarn to give away and to use as prizes, which is really, really lovely of you, Nikki. Thank you. And when it arrived, oh my goodness. I mean, it's like a little burst of sunshiny colour through the post. So before I show you the yarn, I'll just show you her card. Little Stone Cottage Yarns, there's all her details. And she sent me 2 full skeins of yarn. This one is called Daisy Toes. It's 4-ply sock. It's 400 metres in 100 grams, and it's a 75-25 superwash merino. So you've got all the pinks, yellow, and that lovely royal blue with the dark, with the light blues as well. Really, really saturated colour, really beautiful. I think that's coming up pretty true to colour on the screen. And she also sent, I love the name of this one and the colour, Going Bananas. I've got one on my hair. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, this one's called Going Bananas. It's also her 4-ply sock, and it's 400 metres. Look at this. I can't quite, it's kind of poofly, but it's 4-ply sock yarn. I've had the yarn like this before. It's a nice poofly yarn, like you know that it's going to make something really comfy and cosy. Look at the speckles. Look at those speckles there. That's a lovely colour, Going Bananas. Really, really beautiful. So that's those 2. And she also sent a mini set. So it's 5 20-gram minis, and this set is 100% superwash merino singles, and this is the set called Coral Reef. So crinkly packet, shiny packet. Sorry about that. Let's try this one. You can see how beautiful the colours are. Coral Reef. So I've got all of these to do for a future giveaway or to use as prizes. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I don't think 3,000 subscribers are too far away. So there'll definitely be a giveaway for 3,000 subscribers. And also, I think around September time, I would have been podcasting for 2 years. So that's coming up. Also, I'm just feeling generous and like sharing happy mail and love with the world. But I'm not going to do anything with them this episode. I'm putting them into my prize and giveaway pile. So thank you so much, Nikki. You're obviously very talented at what you do. And thank you for sending those to share with the viewers of this podcast. I've also, right, okay. This next thing I'm going to show you now, because I want to get it out of the way, because I'm not sure I can talk about it without crying. I cried when it arrived, and right, okay. I will not cry. If I do, I'll just cut it out and you'll never know. Donna, who is In a Pickle Knitting on YouTube, and R. Clausen, I hope I'm saying that right, on Instagram. I've been following her pretty much since she started podcasting. She's lovely. She's a retired school teacher. She makes amazing things, and her podcast always includes information about children's literature related to craft or yarn and craft. It's so interesting, and for me as a mum of 2 girls, one of whom is still only 7, to find these books and be able to then go onto Amazon or wherever I can and try and find them for my girls, it's amazing. Like, I wouldn't have heard of some of these books, yet I can go, or sometimes I've managed to find them in the library here in the UK. So we've read some really interesting books because of Donna, and she talked very beautifully about her friend who she lost recently, who died, and her friend was called Jeanette, I think. I'm just going to double check. Jeanne, and she died, and that loss was felt very keenly by Donna. And Donna contacted me and said, I've got a little something to send you, would you mind? And when it arrived, I couldn't believe it, because when I had been watching Donna's podcast, I'd seen this on her podcast, and it had reminded me so much of my, hey fever, it reminded me so much of my childhood, because in the garden where we grew up, we had 2 hydrangea bushes. And when my mum moved out of our childhood home a few years ago, I took clippings from those bushes, and last summer was the first summer I got them to flower. And looking at them now, and I can see the buds on them, on the one in the pot on the patio, and there's another one in the garden as well. And I even managed from those cuttings to take another cutting, and my mum has now got a hydrangea bush in her new garden. So they kind of live on from my childhood into how things are now. And obviously thinking back and being sentimental about the past at the moment is something we are doing a lot. We're about to lose my dad, and it brings back memories of childhood, and you try to think of the rambling. The point is, Donna sent me this. This is one of her hydrangea bags, and when she showed it on her podcast, I did think, oh my word, I would love to have that in my life, but there's no way I won't get one. There won't, I won't be quick enough. Sorry, sudden attack of the sneezes. I won't be able to get one in time. I won't be able to afford the postage and everything like that. So I did not expect for a single moment that what Donna was going to send me was one of these. And can I just say, it is beautifully made. It is full of the most amazing detail. First of all, the little zip tab there. I've got a little tassel there on the zip pull. The handle, which you can detach or keep on. Even the handle has got the little inner pickle knitting. Is that the right way up? The little inner pickle knitting thing, tab. The stitching on it, I don't think my sewing machine would be capable of these kind of stitches. It's amazing. And then inside there is like little pockets that you could put your needles and pens and hooks in. It's like a hook roll, but on the inside. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you it. It's also going to give away what I'm going to show you next. And it's also got an internal zipped pocket. Now I believe that Donna has a tutorial on her YouTube channel, Inner Pickle Knitting, for how to make a bag similar to this. So I'm going to link to that because that's going to be relevant for the make along I talk about later. And inside here, you may have already caught a glimpse of, she sent a lovely card and some lovely looking chocolate, which I haven't eaten yet, but I'm going to eat it now. And she sent me this yarn, which is Gianne's hydrangeas. Hydrangeas were a flower that reminded Donna of her friend. And this is a high twist sock yarn, and it is 80% blue face ester, 20% nylon. And this is something that Donna has dyed herself to match the bag. This is just one of those things that's so special and means so much to somebody else. It means so much to Donna, and she sent it to me, and honestly, it means so much to me. It feels very personal to me as well. So though she's got her reasons for feeling personal about the hydrangeas, so have I, and it just makes this gift amazing. I realise I am gushing and getting emotional about a bag, but every single one of you that watch this podcast will completely understand, because I know that you understand. So Donna, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I think I've kept this on the chest of drawers that is just next to my bed, because I can't bear to put it away. I mean, look, it just stands up like that on its own. It's such a well-made thing, and it's beautiful, and I just keep it because I want to see it. I want to see it when I go to bed. I want to see it when I wake up. And it says, know in your heart that you are loved. And it's absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Donna. And this wasn't a birthday present. This was a just because. I am a spoiled and lucky girl. I'm just going to blow my nose. Right, speeding along because I'm rambling. My sister, who is currently at Stitch Crochet on Instagram, that's the 3rd time I mentioned you now, Jen. She sent me yarn for my birthday too. Now Jenny got me into crochet because she was crocheting a blanket and I wanted to get in on the crochet action. So I bought a book and I taught myself. This was years ago, and thank goodness she did, because the rest, as they say, is history. She bought me yarn for my birthday, and she bought me yarn for My Mama Knits, and My Mama Knits was actually the first hand dyer I think that I ever bought hand dyed yarn from. I bought her Squidette on the Beach yarn, and I used it to make a hitchhiker shawl, which is in my Ravelry projects if you want to see. It was a gradient yarn. This is called Mad Tea Party, and Jenny says that's because it reminds her of having dinner with my family. Rude. And it's a superwash merino sock yarn, so it's 75/25, and this is what it looks like. Now I love it because Mad Tea Party, as well as being a reference to eating with my family, apparently is a reference to Alice in Wonderland, and the girls have both watched the Johnny Depp one, the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland through the Looking Glass one recently, and they loved it. My eldest daughter is really into Alice in Wonderland because they all dressed up as the characters for World Book Day, and I've just finished the book Alice. Alice is a weird book. Look it up. It's just called Alice. I can't remember who it's by, but I'll put it on the screen. It took me almost a year to read it because I wasn't reading much, and it was just weird. It was good, but it was weird. So I'm just very happy to have finished it. And this is a nice joyous celebration of no longer reading the weird book. Look at this. What on earth am I going to make out of this? I don't want to put it on my feet and hide it from the world. Stop rambling. Oh, right, come on. Beautiful yarn added to the pile, the spoiled brat pile. I also got some beautiful, now hubby outdid himself. He didn't have a good Mother's Day, but he pulled it out the bag for my birthday. First of all, he got me, this is from him and the girls, from Chapel View Crafts, a key ring, which I can either put on my keys or on my one of my project bags. It's a cup of tea and a jammy dodger, which is like the cutest thing ever. See the jam in the middle? And you can even see, let's see if I can get this, you can even see the tea in the cup. Sorry about my nails. And he got me a load of stitch markers, and because I am descendant of Scottish parents, what else would he get me but a cup of tea and a load of shortbread? So I've got a ton of stitch markers there, all shortbread, which makes me just want to eat shortbread. And these are all from, I'm sure you've heard of them, Chapel View Crafts, who are based here in the UK. They're on Etsy. So he got me those, which are actually absolutely brilliant. I love them. And my eldest daughter, I took her shopping with her friends as part of her birthday celebrations. She had a sleepover and they all went shopping at Blue Water. And while she was at Blue Water, she went to Typo, and she bought me these scissors that I'd seen when we were shopping before. They're the Eiffel Tower. And she went back and she bought them with her own money for my birthday. Honestly, if you think I got emotional over a bag, I got very emotional over a pair of Eiffel Tower scissors. Bless her heart. So those are brilliant. And look, they've got a rounded edge. They're not here. So they're perfect for putting in a project bag because they're not going to catch on anything. So brilliant. Then moving on to some things I treated myself to from Typo. I got myself, I showed this on Instagram, a Growing Up is Optional pin. Now I have a few pins now and I haven't actually got any official place to put them. And I haven't decided yet whether I want to put them on a, like on a bit of linen in a hoop on the wall, or if I want to make a little, you know, just a hanger to put my pin badges on, hang on the wall. I don't have a craft ring or an office or anything like that. So really to display them on the wall is difficult, because then I'd just be displaying them on the wall of my house, which might look a bit weird. So I'm thinking a bag, but I would like maybe a big bucket bag. I've got a pair of old jeans that I can, anyway. I've got to think about how I want to display my badges, because I've got all my old ones that I collected in the 90s as well, because this is second time round for me. I've done the enamel pin badge thing already. I'm back round to doing it again. I think I talked about that, not last, is it the last episode or the one before? I showed some of my badges that I found. I ordered myself a pin badge from Chrissy Crafts. This one, life is one big work in progress. That's from Chrissy Crafts. Love that one, absolutely love it. So that was a little birthday present to me from me. And in that same vein, I also ordered from lovely Sam. Chrissy is lovely too. Lovely Chrissy and lovely Sam, who is Betsy Makes. Came in this lovely little spotty bag. There's her little thing. Betsy Makes. She's Betsy Makes on YouTube and pretty much everywhere else. Excuse my nails again. However, they match perfectly to this. It's a little yarn ball with a crochet hook in it. Love it. So yeah, absolutely love that as well. That is so lovely. Those two little pins that I treated myself to. Now I've just got to make something to put them on. I also got from my husband, he bought me some yarn. So I'd written down some shops that I liked on Etsy and said pretty much you can buy what you like and I'm going to like it. So he went to Biff Sugar Yarns, who I've mentioned a few times before. She's a relatively new dyer and podcaster, Biff Sugar. And if you're searching for her podcast, it's Biff Sugar, all one word, Biff Sugar podcast. And he bought me this skein of Be Mine, like the usually what they have on the Love Heart Sweets, Be Mine. It is 75-25 fingering weight sock yarn, and this is it. Don't know what I'm going to make with it. Think it might make a nice hat, or socks, or gloves. Or a scarf, who knows? Oh, I love it so much. Didn't he do well? But that's not all, because Alison, I assume on seeing that the surname was the same, or the address, I'm going to unravel this one, also popped in a skein of her Wildflower Meadow yarn. Actually, let me put it back in the skein just for the purposes. I don't know why I'm talking downwards. You put it back in the scheme for the purposes of initially showing. Oh, that's really bad. This is so. I'm not doing a very good job at this. This is Wildflower Meadow. I'm going to unskein it to show you because you just have to see all the colours. Look at this. So Alison very, very generously and kindly popped in this skein as an extra for my birthday because she's lovely. Oh, I just love it. These two things. And actually I hadn't, oh, that's in the pile of stuff I'm going to show next time. I'll have to, there was another skein of yarn that I got from Lily of Nordic Stitches for my birthday, and I thought it went really well with this. But I've left it in the other room now, so I'll show it to you next time. Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Dan. Dan won't be watching this. I also ordered some yarn from Ellie, who is Craft House Magic here on YouTube. I love Ellie. She does everything. I don't think there's a craft she couldn't do. But she's also a yarn dyer and project bag maker. And it's been too long and I've never bought any of her yarn. And then I saw this on her podcast and I was like, I have to have that. I don't need any more yarn. I don't need any more yarn at all, but I had to buy it. It's a sock set, and it's her Take On Me sock set, which is a reference to the song by Aha. And it's like almost like a pencil sketch, black and white, because that's what the video was, with a gorgeous contrasting pale yellow, which, yeah, that was the nail in my coffin, really, wasn't it? I was like, well, sock set it is then. So that is a 75-25% as well. So 75% superwash. and 25% nylon. But when she sent it to me, she popped in some extras for the podcast. So what it says on the note. So she's popped in this gorgeous little, oh, I've got to get my little beads down now. Gorgeous little skein of sort of zesty coloured yarn, which is gorgeous. And there's a little bee progress keeper in there too, who's just the cutest. Which reminds me of something else I wanted to show you. Where have I put it? I've got a little gorgeous progress keeper of a bee that Michelle from Pictures and Threads made. And I think I've also left that in the other room. So that'll be a next time one. I'll write that down. So anyway, Ellie sent me this and she said, I've included some little extras you're welcome to use for a giveaway or keep them for yourself. So, talk about wrestling with my conscience. So she sent this little zesty one with the bee stitch marker. And she sent me this gorgeous little set of minis. And this is called, there's 3 minis in this. One is a tonal blue, one is You Spin Me Round, and one is Rio. So obviously the tonal blue is the one in the middle, but I don't know which one's Rio and which one's You Spin Me Round. But look at the colours. I don't know how she does what she does with the colours, how she gets them to be so subtle and yet so amazingly pretty and vibrant at the same time. They're just gorgeous. So as much as I wrestled with this and about whether or not to give them away, of course I am going to give them away. I am so spoiled all the time, and it's really important to me that I share that with you people who support me on this podcast and on Instagram and everywhere. So that is these are going to go into, even though I don't want these are going to go into my prize and giveaway pile, because I have to give something back to the world for what it gives to me. Oh, what's this? Oh, I didn't spot this before. Little thing of lavender. Ah, I'm keeping that though. So, and this is her little card, Craft House Magic, and these are all of her details, so you can see where to go and find her. Because honestly, she is a bit of a genius yarn dyer. So thank you, Ellie, for those extras, and I think that is going to conclude. Oh, one more thing though. My Little French Meadow Mini Skein Club arrived for the month of April, and I wanted to show you these because these were also Alice in Wonderland themed. They're called, well, the April Mini Skein Club is called Alice, and the 2 mini skeins are called Drink Me and the Garden of Live Flowers. This is what the packet looks like when you get it. Every month, if you sign up for this card, you get 2 mini skeins and a stitch marker. So I think this might be actually Alice Through the Looking Glass, because I'm assuming the blue is Drink Me. Look at that, look at those colours. And I'm assuming the one at the top is Garden of Flowers. And the stitch marker, and this is what makes me think Alice Through the Looking Glass, is a little looking glass. Honestly, Alison and Yola, who are the dyers behind Little French Meadow, just knock this out of the park every month. Like every month I'm like, oh, I love them. And I really should put all of my mini skeins together and just do a Little French Meadow pair of socks. I think, who was it who did that? Someone I followed did. Was it Sarah? Anyway, someone did that, and I just thought, what a great idea. So that concludes my incoming section for now, because I've still got more. I've got more whips as well, but if we were going to talk about everything, we'd be here all year. Okay, so moving on, I want to talk about the Dodgy Bag Make-Along. Ta-da! So, Crochet Luna, who is Claudia, contacted me to say, how about we run a month-long Dodgy Bag Make-Along. Everyone can just muck in and have a go at making their very own dodgy bags. As you know, I call all of my bags that I make, I don't make anything to sell or anything like that, but I do make things to give away or as presents and things like that, and they are always slightly wonky, bit iffy. And I call them dodgy bags. I will give you an example. Here is one of my dodgy bags, which I've shown before. This is a little Red Riding Hood fabric, and this yellow was an old cushion that I found in a charity shop, and I also reused the zip that was on it. And it is lined just with a plain white organic cotton. That is one of my dodgy bags. Here is another one of my dodgy bags. All of my dodgy bags are just using up fabric that I already have. I never buy new fabric. This is an organic cotton, the grey. The white and gold was my mum's old Christmas tablecloth, and the inside was a fabric I had when I had to make a dress for my daughter when she was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And I just put a little decorative tag there, and this is just awaiting a drawstring, but I've run out of stuff to use. So again, dodgy bag. And I've got some more fabric cut out. And the idea is that everyone can join in. Just throw that over there. I've made such a mess. I can't even begin to describe it. What was I saying? Oh yes, so the dodgy bag make along starts today, the 1st of May, and it's going to run through until the 1st of June. So you have a month to make a dodgy bag, or a dodgy purse, or a dodgy pouch, or just a small dodgy basket, or anything that to get you having a go and trying to make your own project bag or notions pouch or anything like that. And yeah, we've got months to just do it, and there's going to be prizes. The chatter thread is in Claudia's Crochet Luna podcast group, and the FO thread will be in my Little Drops of Wonderful Ravelry group. So please hop along there to put your things in, and you'll be eligible for a prize in each one. So Claudia is going to draw a prize from the chatter thread, and I will draw a prize from the finished object thread. And I think I've got some yarn from Biff Sugar, and I'll put a few other bits together, and I'll talk about the prize package next time that I'm going, because I haven't put it together yet. So yeah, get sewing and come and join along. And if you're going to join in, come and say hello on Instagram to me or Claudia. Let us know you're joining in. Let us know in the comments below. It would be great to see what you're making and follow along with you. And the hashtag is Dodgy Bag MAL on the screen now. And in the spirit of dodgy bag making, I wanted to share with you the very first bag I ever made, because I found it in the loft the other day. So I've given it a wash. Or did I wash this one? Or maybe I didn't wash this. No, I did. I put it through the washing machine, so it needs an iron. But this is the first bag I ever made. This is IKEA, like upholstery fabric, and it's just lined with, guess what colour? Yellow. And I made this, quite a few years ago now, from a free pattern or tutorial online. You just cut it, you cut two pieces that look like this, they're like that with the long bit, and then you box the bottom and you turn it out through the handle, and then you hand sew the top of the handle together. I've just described that really badly, and it just makes an over the shoulder bag. And I think on this one I did a little inside wonky pocket as well, and I just had a big button and a loop. And that's it, dodgy bag, perfect for, I don't know, just shopping. And I'd forgotten I'd made it and forgotten I did it. And actually now I found it, I'm going to pop that in the boot of my car, and that would be quite handy to use. So that's my first ever bag that I ever sewed. And if I can find the tutorial for this, I will add that to the links on the blog post that I write. Right, giveaways. I've got two patterns, as well as Yola's pattern, which I talked about earlier. I've had two other patterns donated to the podcast to give away. One is the Only Way Is Up cow. I'm doing this from memory, so I'm probably going to get it wrong. I'll probably best look it up. It's the Only Way Is Up cow. It's by Naomi, who is Cozy Cute Knits. And she's donated a copy of this pattern to the podcast. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the socks. I'm going to open a Ravelry thread with a prompt. And if you would like to win a copy of this pattern, just go into that thread and answer it, and you'll be in with a chance to win. So here is a picture. This is the Only Way Is Up cow by Naomi. Hopefully it's not reflecting too much. As you can see, it's a one of these types of cows with lots of different stitch variations. Kind of like a sampler, isn't it? And you can do that in loads of different colours, and there's different options, different ways you could do it. This is one of the test knits. You can see different ways to do it. So I've got a copy of that to give away, so head over to my Ravelry group and you'll be in with a chance of winning that glorious pattern. Thank you very much, Naomi, for that, for offering that as a prize. And the other pattern I have is from Jen Sheelan, and she has donated. Now my Phoebe saw this and she just thought that this was marvellous, this pattern. I must show you her design for a shawl, Phoebe's design, maybe next time. So Jen Sheelan is a designer, and this is a pattern that she has donated to the podcast. So again, I'm going to open a Ravelry group for this, a Ravelry thread for this, and put a prompt in, and you can go and be in with a chance of winning this. It's a knitted shawl, and that is it. Look at that. Amazing. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah, so I'm actually going to be knitting that up, because like I say, my Phoebe saw that and she thought that this was pretty close to the design that she'd come up with, and she's been picking colours. So once she's picked the rest of her colours, I think I'm going to be making this for Phoebe. So that's from Jen Sheelan. Go to the Ravelry group, look for the three threads, one for the Bride by the Sea shawl, one for the Only Way Is Up cow, and one for the Along Similar Lines socks. And you can enter all of them if you want, and I'll draw a winner for all of those next time. So thank you very much to Yola and to Naomi and to Jen for donating those really, really gorgeous patterns, all of you. Like, I mean, we've already talked about how much work goes into making these patterns, and to offer them up for free for viewers of the podcast is an incredibly generous thing to do. So thank you very much. Right, before I put up a little vlog of Ramsgate and Cornwall and all kinds of things like that, I was going to answer some of the questions from my Ask Me Anything thread. So I put this up just because other podcasters have done so, and I always enjoy hearing the answers that they give to things. So I didn't know what I would get asked, but I thought, well, I'll see if anyone wants to know anything and I'll try and answer them. So I printed off the three questions. I'm going to read them out and just answer them. So the first one is from Jane, who is J Cheesehead on Ravelry. Hello Jane, she was one of our prize winners for, can't remember, but she was a recent prize winner. So so it's really nice that she came along to my lonely little Ask Me Anything thread. And Jane said, thought I'd ask about if or how watching and doing podcasts has changed your life. Has it made you more outgoing? Feel like you're a part of a community more? Made you more organised or productive? No pressure to answer this anytime soon. Just thought the Ask Me Stuff thread looked lonely. So thank you, Jane, for being my first question and for making the Ask Me Stuff thread not so lonely anymore. And in answer to your question, yes, watching and making podcasts has changed my life. I know that sounds dramatic, but it has, because when I started watching podcasts, it changed the way I crafted. It made me less rigid, so I became less inclined to only work on one thing at a time, and realised that it was okay to work on more than one project, more than one craft, more than one thing at any one time, and that was okay. And it was okay to get overly detailed and enthusiastic about it with people, because there was a whole community of people out there who really cared what size needles you're using and what cast on you were doing, and whether or not you were crocheting with a 4mm hook or 3.75. Yes, completely revolutionised my crafting. It opened up a whole new world to me. It brought me new friends, and then when I started podcasting, I thought that I wouldn't keep doing it. I thought I would find it too terrifying. I thought everyone would hate it. I thought that when I started to get, if I started at the time, I thought if I ever got the thumbs down, that would just break my heart and I wouldn't be able to carry on. But actually, as it turns out, when I do get the odd thumbs down, I just think, oh, I don't really mind. Oh, you know, you don't have to be everyone's favourite thing or everyone's cup of tea. You just have to do what you love and talk about what you love, and actually it's helped me a lot to overcome like that kind of anxiety, because honestly it just doesn't bother me. If I see like 240 thumbs up and 3 thumbs down. So I just think, oh, what a shame that that person, you know, feels that that's what they need to do, is to be a bit mean. So I don't want to go into that because I don't really talk about that because it's not like something major, but the fact that I can be reasonable about that and not go off on one in my mind and start thinking, oh my God, 3 people have clicked don't like, that has changed how I think about things. Silly, isn't it? But yes, it has. It hasn't made me more outgoing. No, I'm still socially awkward. But you got to remember, when I'm sitting here, I am on my own in my kitchen with a cup of tea, surrounded by the things that I love, talking to my iPhone. If I was sitting here talking to 2,500 people in a room, well, I wouldn't be here. I would be rocking in a corner somewhere, muttering, because I can't do it. I couldn't talk in front of a room of 3 people. So it hasn't made me more outgoing, but it's made me very grateful for being able to do this, and for the people that that interact with me because of it. And in that same vein, yes, it does make me feel part of a community, very much so. And particularly if I go to yarn shows and I meet people that I recognise from YouTube or from Instagram, or that I've been talking to for some time, or someone that has seen me but I haven't seen them, and we get to chat. Yes, it makes me very, very much feel part of a community, and I think that is why what keeps me coming back for more is that shared passion that we all have. Has it made me more organised or productive? It's made me more productive because I work on more things, and I don't limit myself, and sometimes I will race to get something finished because I want to show it off on the podcast, which is a good thing for me because it gives me an incentive. So I like that. More organised, not so sure. I have more project bags, so in theory, yes, because I put projects in project bags. That's organising. I organise my yarn cupboard, but that's only because I bought more yarn, which I wouldn't have done had I not discovered podcasts, I don't think. Yeah, so yeah, in a way it's made me more organised, but only because it created more havoc, which I had to organise. So thank you, Jane, that was a really good question. Then the next one was Judy, and she is 2bloop2, best username ever. And she says, hi Ali, thanks for a delightful podcast. Oh, thank you, Judy. Thank you for your comment. You always have socks on the needles. Yep. My goal this year as a new knitter is to attempt socks for a second time. The first time I started last June, I put them to the side and forgot how to pick up the next step. So any helpful hints and tricks you would recommend as a new sock knitter, I would appreciate any help. Thank you. Now, I'm slightly afraid of answering like knitting questions because I still consider, I've been knitting for a year and a half, 2 years. Can't remember. I think a year and a half. So I don't consider myself to be an expert of any kind, but I do knit a lot of socks. And I would say as a beginner, 2 things. One, just get a beginner pattern. So my sister learned using Sandra of Cherry Heart's My First Sock pattern, and she found that brilliant. I haven't tried that one yet, but she absolutely loved that pattern, and she is away with sock knitting now. The other pattern that I found really good was the Sockmatician's Toe Up recipe. That was an excellent pattern, but I had knit a few pairs of socks by then. How I learned was with the Winwick Mum's Sock Along tutorials, and they're still up there. They're all on her blog, and she talks through needles and gauge and everything, and I just worked through that. Now I knit in a slightly different way, so actually, but I still do prefer short circulars, which is how she recommends starting. Also, Kay of the Bakery Bears podcast, if you're a patron, they have on their patron site a tutorial for the snowfall socks, which are actually knit with chunky yarn. And I knit a pair of those for my daughter at Christmas time. And I found that, I wish that I'd found that pattern when I started knitting socks, because knitting with the chunky yarn made everything much easier to see. It made the whole process much quicker. it meant that I could really see the process with nice big chunky yarn and big needles without fiddling about. And I still got the most amazing pair of socks at the end of it, which were completely wearable. It wasn't like I was just making socks for no reason and they weren't going to be functional. My daughter wears those socks all the time. They're indoor socks, you know, like slippers almost. But that is a fantastic way to learn, is to find a chunky sock pattern, because you can really see what you're doing. That would be my sort of top tips. And also just keep going, because really knitting socks is just doing a few of the same. It's just doing knit, purls, decreasing and increasing, which isn't hard, maybe the odd yarn over depending on what pattern you're doing, and doing it in the right order. And everything that you need to do, if you're stuck, Google it, search for it on YouTube, because there is always somebody on YouTube showing you how to do anything. There is even a man on YouTube who showed you how to empty your toilet to get rid of the scale inside it. Don't ask me how I know that, but if you need to know anything, there will be somebody on YouTube who will show you how to do it. So those are my top tips. And the third question that was there, and this was when I printed it out about a week ago, was from Penny, who is Rocky MTN Penny. Hi Penny. And she said, why the flute? I played the flute in school bands, but was also moved to playing piccolo and oboe as the needs arose. I put it down after the 11th grade, and that was that. I was wondering when and why you picked up the flute, and if you maybe play in an orchestra or other group. Well, that's a very good question. I don't know what 11th grade, I don't know how old you are in 11th grade, but if it was like here, year 11, that would make you like, so 12, I don't know, 16 or something. I could be wrong. But I actually started to learn the flute when I was at secondary school. So we start secondary school here in the UK when we're 11. And I played for a couple of years, and I never did my grades. So you do the Associated Board of Music here in the UK, and you go from grade 1 to grade 8. And I never started doing my grades because I suffer with nerves, and I find it extremely difficult to be to do exams. And my hands sweat when you're playing the flute, and your hands sweat. That makes it difficult, and your breathing goes, and that makes it difficult to get the sound. So I suffered a lot with nerves, and also I was getting to the age where I was like, oh, you know, boring. I don't want to play the flute anymore. But I still had my flute. My dad bought me one, and I kept it for many, many years. And my sister borrowed it for a while, and she learned to play the flute. In fact, I think she's at grade 5, so she's like doing way better than me. But then my daughter had the opportunity to learn the flute when she was at primary school in year 4 or 5. So I took it up again, because I thought, well, if she's going to do it, then I really need to do it as well. I can help her at home. We can practice together. And I did my grade 1 the same year that she did, except she was 9 or 10, and I was 39. So yeah, so we both did our grade 1s, and then last year I did my grade 2, and I'm currently working towards my grade 2 jazz. So I could be working towards my grade 3, but I fancy doing something a bit different to classical. So I switched to jazz, and because it was a different genre, my flute teacher suggested, but maybe we just start at grade 2. So I'm currently working towards my grade 2 jazz, but I've had to put all of my flute lessons on hold because I don't have time to go to them, because I have to go to the hospital. So that is why I started playing the flute, and I still do play the flute, and I probably always will. It will take me forever, and it will cost me a fortune, but I will keep doing the exams as long as I can maintain my nerves. I still get incredibly nervous. That is another issue I have. So another reason I decided to do the jazz exam was because there was an option in that exam to not have to do scales. So you could do the option of doing improvisation, musical knowledge, or a couple of other bits instead. And I found that less nerve-wracking than memorising scales. So who knows? We'll see what happens in the future, but I'll definitely keep learning the flute. And no, I don't play in an orchestra, but my daughter does. She plays in a local wind band, which is all ages, and her teacher is always trying to get me to join in. But again, I would be too nervous to play in front of an audience, although she has talked me into doing it for one performance in July. So, bit nervous, but hey ho, if my daughter can do it, then so should I. And I've got another friend who's a teacher, actually, whose school is going to be at this performance as well, and she's been roped into playing, so I'll just stand behind her. Maybe I'll just pretend, just move my fingers. So yeah, that's why the flute. That concludes today's podcast. I hope it wasn't too rambly. I literally have no idea what I've talked about. My head feels so cotton woolly. I do know I've been talking for almost 2 hours, so that's bad. And I do know I've still got to see if I've got room to put a vlog at the end. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's not too rambly, but I don't know when I'm going to podcast again. So if it's super long, sorry, but at least you can divide it into 2 and pretend I've done 2 podcasts. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope I didn't ramble too much. Hope you enjoyed all of the beautiful yarn. Beautiful yarn, beautiful yarn. And I will see you for episode 30 sometime soon. Hopefully not in another 5 or 6 weeks, but sooner than that. In the meantime, enjoy your knitting and your crocheting and your crafting and your yarn dyeing and whatever it is you do. And enjoy the sunshine. Bye.